It's time to decide what I want to read in June, and as of this moment, I'm not exactly sure what I want to read in June. But I'm going to try my best to put a bit of a list together. So far this year, I don't think I've been doing too well with TBRs, but my TBRs are always kind of loose and always more of a might be read rather than a definite to be read. So continuing that theme, let's chat about a few books that I could possibly pick up in June, also could possibly not, because my May TBR did definitely not go to plan. I'm pretty sure my April TBR did not go to plan. My March TBR did not go to plan. My February TBR went alright. But I'm not doing too well with actually sticking to books that I talk about in TBRs. So we'll see if this month is any different. But let's talk about what's coming up in June. Quick little mention for the fact that in June I will probably need a fair amount of audiobooks because I am participating in the WWF's fundraiser for 5k a day. I'm going to be walking 5k a day. I may run some of it. I'm not really much of a runner. I'm definitely more of a walker. But I'm going to be doing 5k a day in June to raise money for the WWF. I will leave the link to the fundraiser down below if you fancy donating, but that does mean I will be doing, with Finn, a 5k walk takes us about an hour and a half, because he sniffs and pees and sniffs and pees and sniffs and pees every 10 steps. So I'm going to be doing a lot of walking. I'm going to need some audiobooks on the go. So I don't know if any of the books I've actually picked out have... One of them has an audiobook that I have. So I may also need to dip into random audiobooks throughout the month. But yeah, just thought I'd mention that. Leave the link to the fundraiser down below. No pressure, but save the planet and all. Let's crack on with what I want to read in June. Firstly, the one I know there is an audiobook for, and one that is on my priority TBR that I need to get to, and I'm deciding that I want to try and do at least one priority read per month. I did do one in June from my priority TBR. June? No. May. I did do one priority read in May, so I want to make sure I do one in June as well, and that is The Emperor's Blade by Brian Staveley. I may have mentioned this in my May TBR anyway for being super buzzwordy. The Emperor has been murdered. The Empire is in turmoil. I've spoken about this book so many times and just not read it, so I am not going to blab on about it for too long now. Priority read. Needs to be read, probably gonna love it, do have an audiobook. I will probably immersion read to start with, or immersion read as much of this as I can, but then also do the audios whilst on my walk as well. I've gone on about this enough, you don't need me to tell you that I'm going to read it again, because it's already featured on way too many TBRs. Next up is actually one on my Kindle, and that is Cursed Cocktails. I mentioned this one in my Fantasy Bingo TBR video the other week, whenever I uploaded that. And since mentioning it, it's been on my mind, so I'm gonna read that one. I want to read it very soon, actually. It may be one of the first ones that I tackle. It is a cozy fantasy about a chap who I think is retiring from, like, the front line, retiring from being some sort of guard. He's a powerful elf or something, but people of his level don't really get to retire. They don't normally last that long, so he is retiring and enjoying cocktails. I think he travels somewhere where they have like a vast array of alcohol for him to sample, and that seems to be the vibe. So cozy fantasy. I don't know what the curse is yet, but there's going to be a lot of cocktails, so Kindle read on there. Should be a quick one, quick cozy one, and one off my Fantasy TBR as well, so fingers crossed I get to that. One I am absolutely dying to read, and I've only recently picked up, I don't even think you've seen the video where I picked this up yet, is How to Become the Dark Lord and Die Trying. I mentioned this one again in my Fantasy TBR bingo. I mentioned it in my like releases on my radar video. and I finally got my mitts on it because I mentioned in that last video how I didn't have it yet. Now I do, and I'm so excited about this. This is by Django Wexler. This is a fantasy comedy about a woman who is stuck in a time loop. It's like some sort of Groundhog Day situation. She's stuck in this time loop and the Dark Lord keeps winning. And how can she possibly help to defeat the Dark Lord? If you can't beat him, become him. So she becomes the Dark Lord, or tries to become the Dark Lord. She's done being the hero and done being stuck in this endless time loop. If the Dark Lord always wins, then maybe that's who she needs to be. It's her turn to be on the winning side. I have heard that this is hilarious. I've heard very good things about it so far, and I'm very excited to dive into this one. I think it's going to be great. I'm really excited. How many times can I say the phrase excited? I'm so excited. Very excited. Next up is one that I don't actually know an awful lot about, but was sent to me by Del Rey. So thank you very much to Del Rey for The Last Gifts of the Universe, which is a little cat in space. This is by Riley August, and this comes out in September, so I will hopefully be reading this long before its release date. But this is about a cat in space. Maybe not about a cat in space, but there is a cat in space called Pumpkin. Adorable. Pumpkin hisses. He doesn't like it when Kieran and I tiff. He's like an orange fluffy therapist, but he isn't hissing at me, he's glaring at the ceiling. And I trace his gaze to an object that is falling from the shadowy depths near the centre of the dome. Before I can make out what it is, or warn my brother, it explodes in a rush of force, and Pumpkin and I are flying backwards. Pumpkin and I in space. That's what the finished cover will look like. There you go. A dying universe, a search for answers, an adventure at the end of 1 trillion lifetimes. When the home worlds finally achieved technology to venture out into the stars, they found a graveyard of dead civilizations. What befell them is unknown. All home knows is that they are the last ones left, and whatever came for the others will one day come for them. Scout is an archivist who scours the dead worlds of the cosmos for their last gifts, interesting technology, cultural rituals, anything left behind that might be useful to home and their survival. During an excavation of a lifeless planet, Scout unearths something unbelievable, a surviving message from an alien who witnessed the world ending thousands of years ago. Now Scout, their brother, and their sometimes fearless, spacefaring cat Pumpkin must race to save what matters most. I'm in it for Pumpkin, because Pumpkin seems cute. But yeah, just a little sci-fi. I don't reach for sci-fi massively often, and I think that's something that I need to work on because I do very much enjoy it when I do. So, The Last Gifts of the Universe with Pumpkin the kitty cat. And another one that I'm going to be putting on this TBR, we'll see if I get to it, is Son of Blood and Ruin by Marilee Lars. This is on my self-destruct TBR. I mentioned this in that TBR, self-destruct list. Do we call it a TBR? Do we just call it a list? I don't know. As just a random Fairy Loot one that I picked out, being like, I need to read more of these Fairy Loot ones or get rid of them, make a choice. And it very suddenly just piqued my interest. And now I want to read it. There is a masked hero. There is a vigilante who is also a princess. Leonora. Leonora is the glittering jewel of the court, but she is also this masked vigilante, a sorceress with a blade. No one suspects that they are one and the same. The princess has fooled them all, and with the magic of her ancestors running through her veins, she is nearly invincible, until an ancient prophecy of destruction threatens, and she is forced to decide, surrender the mask or her life. I love a prophecy, and I love the idea of this masked hero, vigilante sort of character. I don't know why this sat on my shelf with no interest, no gravitation towards it whatsoever for so long, and now I'm so interested in it. But that is what has happened, so I am very interested in picking this one up, and I hope it goes well. Also, those edges. Ah, glorious. And then I also think I would like to just read a little bit of manga, just to sprinkle in some quick reads in there as well, although maybe some of those will be quick, I don't know. But I would like to get on with reading some more Spy Family. I'm going to take the sticker off because I know it's going to upset people. I read volume 5 of Spy Family in April, and I really enjoy it. After reading Ragnar Crimson, Spy Family didn't land quite as well as it had in the past, but that is definitely because of the time at which I read it. No fault of Spy Family. There we go, the sticker is off. But I have been enjoying this series and I definitely want to continue it. This is about a family. The father is a spy, the mother is an assassin, the daughter is a telepath. They're not actually related, and none of them know each other's secrets, other than the daughter, who, being a telepath, knows that the mum's an assassin, knows that the dad's a spy, but she keeps it all a secret, and she can't let it slip that she's a telepath. But the spy, Twilight, has a mission to infiltrate this school, so he sends the telepathic daughter, Anya, to this school, and they have to put on this front of being a perfect family to get to the information that he needs. It's good fun. I've been enjoying it, and definitely would like to continue. They are all the books that I have on the TBR, so what's that? 6? Not too bad. 6 books kind of set for me to read. I would really like to get to all of them, but as I said before, I am very much a mood reader, so we will see what happens. But also in June, I have another round of my 24-hour readathon that I do with my Patreons every month. Each month we do a Pokeathon gym or contest. If you didn't know, Pokeathon is a year-long readathon that I do on my Patreon based around Pokemon. You don't have to know anything about Pokemon to participate in it, it's just the theme. And each month we have a 24-hour round, whether that be a gym or a contest, and there is a prompt that needs to be fulfilled. For the June prompt, I haven't actually announced what that is to my patrons yet, so sneaky information for me, it will be coming to them soon. But I don't know what I want to read for that yet, and none of the books I've mentioned here will fit. If I'm really stretching the prompt, I might be able to get one of them in, but that doesn't seem entirely fair. So there is also going to need to be one other big book that goes on here. But the aim is to then read that in a day, so we'll see what that ends up being, because as of right now, I have no idea what that's going to be. I'm looking forward to it nonetheless. I do love doing a 24-hour readathon with my patrons where the aim is to read one big book in one day. I just don't know what that's going to be yet, so stay tuned to find out, I guess. But otherwise, that is that. I don't necessarily have any big reading challenges or themed things to do for June. I think a lot of my focus is going to be going on my 5k a day and trying to get some audiobooks in. So if you have any great audiobook recommendations that might be on it's not called Scribd anymore, Everand, that might be on Everand or BookBeat. I do have a couple of Audible credits, but save those for a special occasion. Then yeah, let me know if you've got any great recommendations for me. But that's about that. So thanks for listening to me ramble about my potential June reading plans. We'll see what they actually materialise into. Let me know what you're going to be reading in June down below, what you are most excited to get your mitts on. I would love to know. But otherwise, I shall see you in whatever comes next. Bye!